All right. So first thing we're going to do is this, and I'm just going to show you. I'm going to do that real quick, and now I'm going to show you guys how to do that. Okay. So I'm going to go a few steps back. The tool that I use two tools there. The first one is the rectangle tool, which is on the left column, and it is the fourth tool down on the left-hand side there. And when you make a rectangle, depending on kind of where you point, it may try to snap to something. There are a lot of snaps in SketchUp, and snaps are definitely going to be your friend. So we're going to actually put it down here on the ground, and you just click, hold the button down, and drag it and let go, and you're going to make a flat rectangle.
Was that a snap that you started yours from?
Yep. See how it's blue? That means it's aligned to the blue axis. If it's red, or if I go over here, it'll be green.
Okay.
So they're not labeled XYZ. They're labeled red, green, blue. It's just how SketchUp likes to do it. It works. They're interchangeable that way. So did everybody get a rectangle okay?
Yes.
Everybody got it? Okay, I'm going to show you the next tool. And we're going to go back and review both of these tools in a moment. But the next tool I want to show you is called the push-pull tool. And it is this tool here on the right column, almost halfway down. Okay, and it is called the push-pull tool.
Oh, it just disappeared.
It did?
That's interesting. Is it just the, because it's not the pro version?
No, I don't think that's it. Oh, you gotta be kidding me.
And then you said, okay, click on up there. All right.
Let's see here. Sorry, give me just 1 second here. We have a new and interesting system for time sheets and keeping count of our time. I'll handle that later, but I had forgotten to clock in. Okay, back to class. Push-pull tool, basically this is a face. Any flat surface that you have inside this program is called a face. And if you click and drag it like this, you can extrude a face using the push-pull tool. And you can use it to kind of move these around. It's not really moving the object. There is a move tool, but this is pushing and pulling it. But before we go too much further, as long as everybody was able to get a cube, I want to show you guys how to do the navigation, because that's the most critical thing. So is everybody able to get a cube okay? All right. It doesn't have to be a perfect cube, but just sort of a three-dimensional object of sorts. So in order to be able to rotate around like this, so I'm going all around and around and around. Okay. I'm doing all this via the middle mouse button, okay? So the middle mouse button is the wheel, and all you have to do is press the wheel and move your mouse, and you'll be orbiting. It's not rotating, it's orbiting.
Oh, press the wheel.
Press the wheel, around we go. Now if you roll the wheel, you'll zoom. That's really easy. I think a lot of different programs may utilize that feature.
Press the wheel.
Presto.
Yes.
So those are the main two navigation tools. But there is a third one that you might need, and that is pan. And the reason why you might need pan is maybe I'm zoomed in on this corner.
He's 2D.
What now?
I said he is a 2D.
He is. That's why we made the cube before we did the rotation, because he's not really 2D. He's a cardboard cutout that always faces the camera. But say I'm really close in on one corner. No matter how much I rotate here, I can't get to another corner unless I pan, which is more like sliding the camera left to right. Or if you're into video games, a strafe. You do that by pressing and holding the middle mouse button, the wheel, just like you were using to...
So what does pan do again?
It slides the camera from side to side or up and down. Doesn't change angle, it moves it side to side. And the way you do that is you're already rotating, already orbiting rather, and then you hold down the shift button with your other hand on top of that, and you'll slide it. So I want everybody to try that out. You don't use that one as often, but you do. It is pretty critical.
Yeah, I was wanting to know how to do that. That's what I was
Did you get it?
Yeah, finally. So the shift button is the key.
The shift is the key. Now you don't have to use those. They actually have their own tools down here, but really there's no need to switch tools when you can just use that middle button or the shift key.
But he does not want to. Somehow he stays towards the camera of what I'm looking at, and the box turns.
Yeah, that's how it should be.
Oh, okay. Now, what is that like? I mean, why is it like that?
He has a special setting on always face camera,
Always stays camera. Got it.
which you can apply to anything, but that's stuff we probably won't get into till next week.
Okay.
But no, that's how it's supposed to be. That's how it's supposed to be. That's why we created the cube before I covered the rotation, because otherwise it's kind of more difficult to actually see what you're doing, I guess, as far as rotation goes, or orbiting rather. But no, that's as it should be. He's also a component. More on that later. We'll get there. On that note, let's go ahead and learn the most, without a doubt, important tool that we're going to use tonight, and that is the select tool, which is the first tool, coincidentally. It's the most important tool. The select tool is what it's how you tell SketchUp what you want to affect. What you're choosing to do, whatever you're about to do to it. It's selecting things. Notice that when you click on our buddy Chris here, he has a blue box around him. That's because he's grouped and a component. But if you click on your cube, notice that you can click on the faces, and if you do it in a delicate manner, you can also click right on the lines, which are the edges. So everything inside SketchUp is very much a connect the dots, except you don't use the dots. You use the lines between the dots. And then when the lines between the dots make a complete circuit, they form what's called a face. Now, one way you can manipulate these, I want you guys to kind of follow along with me. Select one of the faces, and then just hit the delete key. And if you hit the delete key, it goes away. But when you do so, you don't just lose one face and one edge, you lose an edge and two faces, because both of these faces were counting on that edge to be there. So let's hit Command Z.
I only lost one face.
Something's up then. You probably just deleted a face. You need to delete an edge. So if you hit Command Z, you can get it to come back just by doing an undo step. Okay? Now if you select a face and you delete a face, yes, you'll just lose one face. But, Command Z, if you delete an edge, you're going to lose more than just one face.
So let's do edge.
Mm-hmm.
And then delete. Yep. Can you put him inside the box?
Sure. You can move stuff around.
By selecting it?
Well, we'll talk about it.
Oh, okay. So we look like yours right now? Because I told you something to do.
Shh, no, it doesn't have to look like ours. No. Okay. So, with those tools in place, we are going to start learning a few of the other tools. One way that we approach this is to make a very rudimentary house. So I'm just going to show you the most basic tools. We're going to start with those.
Can I ask a question first?
Yeah.
How did you put the box back together?
Command Z is undo. You may have to hit it a few times before it'll get back to that. You may have to hit Command Z a few times. Mm-hmm. Did you get it?
I did.
Okay. And I mean, you could always make a new one if you need to, but because it's pretty easy to do. So we got navigation in. Now we're going to look at some additional tools that I think will really help you out when creating and drawing and constructing things in here. So we can go back to the rectangle tool for a moment. Remember how I said we had snaps going on?
Mm-hmm.
I want you to look at the color that it assumes when you put it on different faces of your cube. So that means it's aligned to that axis, which is handy, believe me. So, you don't understand?
I understand the axis, I just don't see how these particular faces connect to the axis. Because the bottom of my box, underneath his feet, the bottom,
Yeah,
is blue, and the blue is up and down.
that's right.
But that's a bottom.
It's a plane. It's a plane of existence, so it's lined up with that plane.
Oh, it's a line of the plane. Okay.
It's aligned with the plane. If it's up here, that, and that, these are both on the same plane. See?
Okay.
It doesn't matter where it is. It's the same plane.
I'm still
If it was a giant grid,
kind of. You're not kidding me.
well, here, when you move things, it does the same thing. So if I just freehand it, it's a black line. It could be going all over the place. But if I force it to go along with that plane,
So you use it as a way to go with the plane. Okay.
think of it this way. The reason it's showing up in this color like this, the reason this is showing it up like green, is imagine if it was on a shish kebab. It's skewered through the green plane right now.
So that would be parallel to the green plane.
Yes.
Okay, I think I had to say it like that so I can look at it like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of. Yeah. That's it. So we'll make like a little door for the fellow. So that's a way you can use your rectangle tool. We could also use it to make a window or two. Just kind of freehanding it for now. There's also the circle tool. So you could make a circular picture window. So these are very primitive, different shape options that you have just starting out with some very rudimentary basic tools, but I'm going to show you more complex ones as we move along here. Any questions on any of that? So you guys should all be able to rotate around it, add some windows and doors on all the different sides. No problem, right? Everybody good with that?
No.
No. Okay.
That was a joke.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. I'm not very funny. Okay, I got 2 circles and a door.
All right, sounds good. So the other tool that we're going to learn about, we're going to make a roof on this real quick. And this is the line tool. You could do a lot of things with this tool. But it's very much a connect the dots tool. So you can kind of freely make straight lines with this tool. Okay? So to make a roof, what we're going to do is we're going to use these, make these lines from corner to corner like this. Just make a big X, and it will snap to the corners. Notice the difference between the red square and the green circle. See red square, green circle. Green circle means it's snapping right to the corner there for you. Okay?
Okay, so you want green circles.
In this case, we do, yes.
What's the red square mean?
It just means it's on the edge, but not on the edge tip. It's not on the end point. So green means end point. And
there's a blue square too.
There is. And that just means on the face. It's a blue diamond.
Okay.
So you got red square, blue diamond, green circle, and then you also have a blue circle, which is midpoints. So those are the 4 different things that it can snap to. If it's out in the middle of nowhere like this, like I got nothing guiding me here.
Yeah.
So you can try this too. Try this at home, folks. But see, like if you're just freehanding out here, well, like check it out. Look at what I'm looking at here. Watch it. Keep your eye on it. Oh, look at what I drew. Like it's very deceptive, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's you know, with this tool, it will follow these axes if you let it. Go ahead and do something kind of like I just did if you want. You can kind of see how it can grow out from there. Okay? But more on that in a minute. For right now, we want to make the rest of this roof here, which is kind of going to do the same thing. So once you have the X on there, what I want you to do is make a vertical line going up through the middle, but you may have to tilt your viewpoint a little bit in order to make it vertical like this. But see, you want to go up like that, just like a tent pole. Right in the middle like that, okay? Everybody good on that? Okay? I take silence as yes, so I'm just going to keep going. If you're not good with it, you're going to have to stop me, or I'll keep going. All right. So then we're just going to connect this top pole here to the corners, and as we do so, as long as everything's flush and connected, when you have edges surrounding something, making a perfect perimeter, it will automatically create the face in there for you. It's a completely valid way to create faces. Was everybody able to get a little Monopoly house kind of roof going on that? Good. Okay. You may notice on mine, I have a couple of mine that are gray.
Is there a way to make a line shorter than you? How do you make it shorter than it was before?
Not easily.
Oh, okay. So just delete it. You know?
I would just redo it. Yeah. I mean, you can.
I just did it by accident.
But like you draw it over it again. But again, it's not how you might think it would be. But if you draw it again, then you can delete the part that extends further than you wanted, if that makes sense. You may notice some of mine are gray or white. Well, see, the gray ones are inside out, okay? This is where it gets critical for 3D printing, all right? Even though we're in a 3D world, all of these faces live in this 3D world, but they all have an inside and an outside. Is the easiest way that I can explain it. An A and a B, in order to actually physically exist in the space that they live in. They have to have an obverse and a reverse. So gray is actually inside, whereas white is outside. So if you have those things mixed up, it becomes very erratic in the printing. It can exist perfectly fine inside the computer, but when you try to print something like that, big problems. But there is one thing you can do to fix that if you notice it. And it's not the end of the world. It's not going to make or break your model. It's mainly only a factor when it comes to 3D printing, honestly, and maybe a few other things. While you're actually working in SketchUp, it's not that critical. But you can switch them. So if you select one and you right-click on it, there's a reverse faces. And if you click that, it'll get them all righted for you. So just a brief little intro on that. Now, that said, you can have...
So I have 2 sides that are gray and 2 sides that are white on my roof. Is that right? Before?
I mean, it's okay, but it's not ideal.
How do I?
You want all your outside to be white and all your inside to be gray.
Okay. So if I have 2 grays, what do I do to fix it to whites?
What I just showed you here, you want to go you want to go click on one of these, click on one of the gray ones, right click on one of the gray ones. Sorry, right click on one of the gray ones, and then go to reverse faces. But in a bit, when we get to the paint bucket tool, you can color these things any color in the rainbow. You can fill them with all different types of textures, all this and this and that, and that's sort of coating it with stuff, right? But underneath, it still has a basic identity of either side A or side B. It has to have one side or the other. It can't be one-sided. It couldn't exist. How could you have a piece of paper with just one side to it? You can't. It's impossible. Well, in normal physics, it's impossible. Because then, like, it would be invisible on one side, and then you could see it on the other side. It would be kind of wild. Maybe they could do that in the particle accelerator, but not in SketchUp.
Right.
But again, just a little tidbit. Not a big deal when you're just first starting out and kind of playing around in it. But that is why you might have some that are different colors. Now, one thing you could actually do, let me show you something interesting. If you go back to your push-pull tool, say you select your door with the select tool, go back to the push-pull tool, you could do something like this and kind of make like a enclave or a recession. See that?
Ooh.
Now, that's a way to make geometry without actually going in and making all these faces. They're automated.
How do you do the recession?
You just use the push-pull tool and then push any of those windows or doors back.
Which one's the push tool?
It was the second tool that we learned. It's this one right here.
Okay.
So you can kind of just slide it back a little bit, Indiana Jones style. There's several ways you could make those tools. I mean, you could take the rectangle and you could make it the old-fashioned way if you really wanted to. You know, you say, oh, okay, I want to do it the hard way. I'll go here and here. Well, not really the hard way, but I'm just using the rectangle tool, but I'm doing my snaps. So I start corner, corner, then I move it over, right? You guys can try this too. Corner, corner, then I move it over. Also here, corner, corner, right? Try it down here, corner to corner. Because when a lot of people use this program, they are doing things like floor plans. So let me do some things here real quick. They may, excuse me, they may not even be utilizing the 3D aspect of SketchUp. So right now what we're looking at is just 2D. So this is more like AutoCAD. We're doing a floor plan here. So I got my walls and my, this is my little house that I'm making. And
okay. So if I have a circle on the other side of the box, so I have exactly what you've done.
okay,
My windows are square, are circles.
okay,
Now I have a circle just like yours on the other side of the around the corner, the 90-degree right there. That circle, I have that circle too. Now on that circle, if I make it and I recess it, does it go into the other recessed circle?
it will if you go far enough. Check it out. Look, I went right through it. Look at that. But it also will hit stuff. See, like it hit that.
That's what I wanted to know. Wait. So now
Yeah, you can make stuff go inside itself for sure. Yeah,
So okay. So
but it's not always a good idea.
It's not a good idea.
Well, it just depends on what you're doing.
Okay.
You really want to. I didn't used to pay as close attention to the cleanliness of my models as I do now. It can really save yourself a lot of headache later down the road if you keep your model cleanish.
Clean-ish.
Yes.
Oh, see, so okay. Huh. So okay, so I wish I could show you here.
You can show me.
So you can probably see that the circle on the side is going through, and this is it right there.
Correct.
So
It doesn't necessarily create an edge on its own, though. Only if one edge hits another edge will it create an edge. Let me give you an example.
Okay.
But we're getting a little advanced here.
I'm sorry.
It's all right. No, it's cool. So I just did a copy and a paste. Anything in here you can copy and paste. So if I put it right, I'm going to move it in such a way where it's not going to quite intersect with anything. So see how it's inside the other square? But see, if I move this square, if I triple click on the square, triple click is, so double click on a face grabs not just that face, but all the edges connected to that face.
Okay.
Triple click does that times 2.
Oh,
so
wow.
it cascades down. So it didn't get him, it didn't get these, but if you try to triple click. And there's one other thing I forgot to show you guys with the select tool. You can drag a box around stuff and it'll get everything inside your box. Okay. But see how none of the edges are actually touching each other here?
Right.
So it's resting there, it's like a ghost. It's like inside of it, but it's not interacting with it. However,
yes.
If I do something like this, well, let me try to get it where I need it here. Okay, now look at what happens when I move it. It's locked into them. It's connected.
Okay.
So only when basically a line and another line intersect do you start getting stuff like that. Otherwise, they'll just kind of live inside one another independently. Probably not going to print well though.
Right.
So. One other tool that I'll show you while we're in here, looking at windows and stuff, is the offset tool, which is this tool right here. And with that tool, it's nice. It makes like a repeat of whatever the current face's outline is.
Okay.
So say you did it there, you would get another circle. You kind of make like a target. And also it would do it in a square, but you'll see where it gets kind of weird right here. So it's good for some things, but look, it can do that as well. But if you have kind of a funny shape, I'll show you where it could get kind of unhelpful. Oh man, why did it do that? That's not what I wanted. Okay, so say you get something like this going on. Let me show you an example. It can work fine for a minute. Okay, yeah, that looks good.
Okay.
Right?
How did you do that?
I'm just using the offset tool.
Okay.
But look what happens when I get down to that. You know, it starts... Or let me give you an even better example. I'm just using rectangles and then erasing some of the lines, and then it kind of automatically condenses the shape for me. But look at what happens when the offset tool goes there.
Right. It doesn't know how to proportionally keep
Right.
it.
Not forever, yeah. And see, look at this. If I wanted to go outside, well, that worked that time. But what happens when I get out here? See, I'm not getting this little divot anymore. So... It's limited, but it's also good for doing floor plans. It's good for doing a wall, say. It's like an outliner type of thing. So something I want to challenge you guys to do is to make a chimney using the tools that we have. Now, I will demonstrate. If you watch my screen, I will demonstrate, but not call out every little thing I'm doing.
Sure.
So I'm going to start. Whoop, no, not that. I'm going to do something like that, and then I'm going to do something like that, and then I'm going to do something like that, and then I'm going to do something like that. You don't have to make yours just like me, but, well, that's quite a chimney.
That's cool. I like it.
But I could move this down too. Sometimes the push-pull tool kind of works like the move tool, but it's only going to go in one direction. Here's another thing about the push-pull tool. Check it out. You can do it on at an angle on your roof, but where it won't work is if you've got several faces that are just slightly different. It only works on one plane at a time, one face at a time. So if you had something that was kind of like that, where they weren't exactly on the same, you could only do one or the other. Or, oddly enough, check this out. If I had a rectangle, and then inside that rectangle I had two more rectangles. Imagine that, right? So look, even though these are all on the same plane, I can't push-pull all of them at once. I can select all of them by holding Shift down, 1, 2, 3. I can move all of them, but I can't extrude all of them, just one at a time. Even though they're all on the same plane. Now, another thing is, if they are on the same plane and you erase stuff, it won't affect it. It'll just condense and kind of average out back into a single shape. But if any of one of these was at a different angle, it would not do that.
What's that tool right there?
That is the rotate tool, so I'll show you that one. But, you know, say I delete that, well, that was different because it wasn't on the same plane. So we lost those faces. But if I delete that one, yeah, this all is on the same plane. That one, nope.
No.
So there's no curves in SketchUp. In fact, let's take a look at that right now together. I want you to we're going to make like a silo for our farmer here. So, how'd you guys do on the chimney?
Really? You want that already?
Well, I just was wondering. Go ahead and make a silo too while you make your chimney. It's not very different, except you're just using the rectangle line up against your house, but it's essentially the same thing. Push-pull tool, right? Pull that guy up. We'll hoist that one up there. All right. Any questions on that one? All right.
No.
Does everyone have like a?
If you wanted to move it like 3 feet closer to the house, what would you do to move the silo?
We use the move tool. We'll get there.
Oh, okay.
We'll get there.
I'm sorry.
I promise.
I wasn't trying to.
No, you're good. I'll show you how to move, I promise. But first, let's take a look at how SketchUp treats curved lines in air quotes, because they're not really a curved line. What I want you to notice is, does everyone have a cylinder?
I have a cylinder.
Let's all make a cylinder. Just drop what you're doing and let's all make a cylinder together. So we start with the circle tool, right? Draw a circle on the ground, and then use the push-pull tool to grow that up like that, like a column. All right. Now, zoom in a little bit on it, and look how nice and smooth that looks. My, my, my. Well, that's all just a big lie, because there is no true curved lines. So what I want you to do next on your cylinder is with the select tool, I want you to triple click it, and then you should see a bunch of little dotted lines. Those dotted lines represent all the actual geometry that's in there. Okay? So the next thing I want you to do is I want you to triple click on it. So we'll be seeing something like this. And then while it looks like this, I want you to right click and go down to Soften and Smooth Edges. And that'll open up a new window, at which point I want you to take that slider all the way to the left. See this slider here? Take that all the way to the left, and now it's exploded and broken down all of those little shapes that were always there, but they were just getting hidden and kind of buried down under everything else. Was everybody able to do that? So there's actually, like, I think 24 independent faces here, I think, or so. So you could actually take your line tool and you could start subdividing these now. Whereas before, look at this column that I still have. Look, I got nothing to do nothing here on, you know. It's just not going to work. And if I wanted to extrude these guys with the push-pull tool, I could do that. I could kind of make something like a gear, Richard gear. I want you guys to try these. And if you get stuck, let me know, because I can't see your screens, so you have to tell me.
I have circles. Oh.
So you want to, if you got the cylinder and you want to show all that hidden geometry by triple clicking on it.
With that same tool there?
The select tool? No, not with the push pull, with the select tool. So that first tool.
Okay, and then once you have it selected with the triple click,
it should look kind of like that right there.
Yeah.
Right click and then go to Soften Smooth Edges, and it'll pop open this little window, and it'll probably be about right there, and you want to drag that slider all the way to the left. And that takes away all that smoothing that it's doing for you, which can be very nice and convenient, but also sometimes you need it to stop when you actually need to get in there and manipulate some of the individual faces. So if a plane is close enough to the same angle as another plane, you can soften it and make it look sort of like it's one curved shape. But it's all an illusion because there's no true curves in SketchUp or any 3D modeling for that matter.
When you say curves, what do you mean by that?
I mean a line that's curved.
Sorry.
There's no true curves. So we'll look at it again real quick. You make any circle in here, zoom in close enough, and look at that. See how it's a polygon. See that?
Yeah.
All those corners, no curves in there. I mean, they represent a curve when they're connected together, but there's not really a curve in there. Make sense?
Makes sense.
And believe it or not, that's how everything in a computer is. It doesn't understand curves. Every video game you've ever played is nothing but a bunch of triangles.
There's no real curves.
Not in a computer.
There's no Santa Claus.
No. Well, I don't know, but not a curvy one inside inside SketchUp. So, questions before we move on. This was quite a bit to throw out right here at the beginning. Any questions, you guys? Are you doing okay back there? You've been really quiet. You're good? You following along and everything? Okay. Just stop me if I go too fast. I want to show you guys something kind of on the fun side next, and then we'll get back into some more drawing tools and manipulation tools, okay? First thing I want to show you is the paint bucket tool, which is up there under the select tool. Go ahead and click that, and then you should have a window kind of like this one pop open, I hope. You guys get something kind of like that? All right, I'll take that as a yes. And go ahead and pick some kind of color in there, and then you apply this to faces. So go ahead and start clicking on faces, and they will get a color.
Why you did that so fast?
How do you like it? Is it working okay?
No.
You're not able to get colors on there?
I want colors.
Huh?
I want colors, but I don't see them.
Okay, so did you go to the paint bucket tool?
Yes, I went to the paint bucket.
Did you get this window?
Is that what it's called? The paint bucket tool?
That's the paint bucket tool right there. The one that looks like a paint bucket spilling
I got
paint.
it there.
Okay? It should pop up in a window for you.
Yes, it did.
And then, so you have several different options. Let's just go with the basic color wheel for now, which is the one all the way to the left.
Yeah.
And then you can pick colors. This here is your brightness slider. So you can have like darker versions of these colors, or white is right in the middle. All right.
Okay. I have colors now.
And if you like a color, check this out. You can do this. You can drag it over to this little chart over here, and it'll save it. Also, the eyedropper, you can click on things that are already out there, and it'll grab that color for you. So if you have something colored a certain color, but you don't have that color saved, and you need to get that color, you can eyedrop it. These other ones are just different ways of doing the same thing, picking colors, but the sixth one over here, rather, is different. That's their materials.
I don't have a 6, but I have only 5.
You don't have a brick?
I don't have a brick. I have a brick. I don't have 5 though. You have 6 in there.
It's probably just a version thing. But the brick is a very handy one. That's materials. So right underneath this first little menu here, do you see this where it says colors and model?
Colors and models, yes.
Click right on that, and let's go down to, let's go to brick. And then let's pick a brick, and then let's start painting the brick on, and you will see that it's sort of like a photo stitch. So a texture is more than just a flat color. It's actually an image or a pattern.
Gotcha.
And actually a lot of things inside here are not actually details like you might imagine, but they're actually a photo that's slapped onto a shape, a basic shape. Let me give you an example. This is a strange analogy that some of you, a couple of you guys may not be old enough to remember this, but do you remember at like Sears when they had like the entertainment centers and stuff, that they had like the fake TV or VCR that just was a picture on a box? That's kind of exactly what these do, more or less. But they look good. And another really fun one is that you guys will like, if you go in here to glass and mirrors, so you just go back to that one. Any of these that you see the diagonal slash on means that they're transparent. So if I say pick that one and I put it on my mirrors, or I'm sorry, not my mirrors, but my windows, look.
So
I'm looking in my
If
house.
I had bricks on my house, and then I went back and I put a different kind of brick on the same brick, is it 2 layers of brick, or is it just
No, it's just one. So,
Okay.
so everything only has one color or material identity.
Okay.
Outside of that, it has its inside or outside, which is called its monochrome. And actually, I will show you guys how to look at that right now. If you go up to View, let me zoom out a little bit. Right now, we're in Shaded with Textures, okay? That's the default setup. But if you go to View and then down to Edge and Face Style, I want you to look at these. Actually, first let's turn on shadows. That's fun. There we go. So now we've got some lighting. Now we've got some dynamics going on in there. Light source. So let's all look together under View, Face Style. Notice that we're currently in Shaded with Textures. Let's go down to Monochrome. Now you're back to white and gray land only.
You went to monochrome or what?
View, Face Style, Monochrome.
But does our colors are they still there?
They're still there,
Okay.
but it's only showing you inside or outside version, right? Because no matter what, even if you had red on both sides, because see, every face has 2 sides, so it can have a different color on each side or all be the same color, but no matter what color it is, on the outside, it's still either side A or side B. It has to be one or the other.
Yeah. Got it.
So To get back, you could go back to shaded with textures, which is the default. But I want you guys to go ahead and try some of these others. Try X-ray. They're all up under View, Face Style. Edge Style, play with some of those. I actually have to run, take a quick little break. If you guys need to as well, I'll come straight back though.
Okay.
And take some questions. But go ahead, play with some of the view options, play with some of the different materials and colors. Yeah, it's cool.
I love the color with X-ray.
Yeah, the only thing I don't like about X-ray is go back to your select tool and you'll be able to select stuff behind faces that you say you want. You might just want to select what's facing you and not the stuff behind it, not the stuff Superman would see, so to speak.
Right.
That's the only downside to it. So sometimes it's not good to have, but it is great to have when you want to be able to see inside.
Yeah.
Search, Google, YouTube videos, lynda.com, that kind of thing. But just get in there and play. Don't be scared. You can't break anything. You'll get stuck, but you'll get unstuck too. Get in there and just play around. It's a good way to kind of learn it. It's a fun program. It does a couple things in some weird ways, which we'll take a look at here in a minute. But there are a few more pretty important things that we're going to talk about here. So stay with me for a second here. Any other questions? You guys look like you're doing really good so far. You use the select tool more than anything. To draw, use a lot of line tool, but not exclusively.
Oh no, you can't undo it?
You can undo it. Command Z or up here under Edit. You've got, where is it here? Edit, undo, redo, undo, redo.
So, my house doesn't have a foundation. Exactly what's...
You can build below. Check this out. Even though it's below the ground, you can see it. And there's different options for how you see stuff underground, which we'll talk about more next week. I have to save something good for you guys for that,
I still have a couple of questions.
Go ahead.
Dealing with the circle on the other side of the circle on the other side of the house. Like, I can see in the X-ray that I can see it more clearly. You painted the inside of your house too, didn't you?
I did what now?
See, so something's I'm not understanding. What didn't I do?
Well, elaborate.
Okay, I think maybe the inside of my house is
not what?
Hollow, maybe?
It may not be completely hollow, but it's mostly hollow. Nothing in here is solid, I'll put it that way. There's no such thing. See, I made like a clear tube in the center. This big aquarium through my house. Whee! And like you can go inside of stuff. When you get really close in there, it's like playing a video game.
So my house,
but more fun. I mean.
Oh, that's why, because my house isn't hollow. So to make your house hollow, how is it that you mimic the?
It's hollow. It's hollow. You just may not have an opening so you can see it, but inside there, it's hollow.
But so inside is hollow.
Yeah.
Inside is hollow. I can't see inside.
Delete a wall. You'll see inside. Yeah, just bust that wall down. You'll see inside.
So this is the thing. I'm going back to what I showed you before. See that piece inside my circle? That's from the other circle on the other side. How
Right.
do I remove that? How do I remove that?
Select it, and then start hitting the delete key.
But is it going to delete the circle or just that piece?
It depends. If it's grouped, it's going to delete everything you have selected.
Let's see, delete. Oh.
So it may delete that piece. It all depends. Let me give you an example here. And I'll talk a lot more about this next week. I hope you guys come next week because there's plenty more to learn about this. But just to give you to go work ahead just a little bit, this guy here, he is a component. He's made of a lot of different pieces. But for right now, he's grouped, he's component, And so essentially he's one piece. So we're going to move him around. You ready to learn that move tool?
Yeah.
Yeah? You sure? No, I'm just kidding.
I'm sure.
Well, he'll be an easy thing to move because he's already grouped. So select him.
Hold on.
You've got to select him first.
Select him. Selected.
Everybody wants to be selected. No one wants to be rejected.
Selected.
And then the move tool is this guy right here. It looks like a red 4-pointed cross.
Yeah.
Kind of like the red cross, but with arrows on it. And then you click and let go, and then start moving your mouse, and then where you click again, he gets dropped off. But there's so much more to it than that.
Wait.
I'm waiting. I've been waiting my whole life.
He's selected, and you said
Move tool?
Hold my mouse down to do it?
No, you don't. Here, I'll repeat again. I'll say everything I'm doing. I selected him with the select tool. I click on the move tool. I click and let go somewhere on his body. For now, it's not important, but hint, hint, it's really important. Then I let go, move my mouse, and then when I'm happy where I put him, I click again and he gets dropped off there. Try that first. So click and let go. Oh yeah, stay away from the red arrows. Those are rotators. We'll talk more about that in a minute.
No, it wouldn't be. He's like too close to everything.
But you can move him away. I just gave you the power. I gave you the tools. I will teach a man to fish over here.
Stay away from the red arrows. Click on his body. And then...
You will see. You see how I have a green line there, and I have a red line there, and if I get the angle right, I have a blue line there. So that's when they're snapping to the planes. Use those to your advantage. If it's a black dotted line, then you're just going in some arbitrary, obscure angle, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it could be. So is everybody able to kind of move him a little bit?
So the red line.
Yes. Were you? Let me ask you just this: were you able to move the guy?
Yes.
Okay.
Finally, sorry.
Oh, okay.
He's too big where he's at. Like he's getting bigger.
You might need to zoom out.
No, I mean. Okay.
He shouldn't be getting any bigger.
He's too big for the house in the silo.
I'll show you the scale tool in a minute.
Okay.
Let's just go ahead and get the move tool first, and then we shall move forth into the scale, the land of scale. Okay, so we moved him like that and like that. All right. Now we're going to do another move exercise. So everybody follow along with me. Make sure you do all this too. Let's do this. Let's make a new cube, around the size-ish of the house. Doesn't have to be the exact size. Just roughly. All right, and we're going to group it. So we're going to group it by triple click on it to select the whole thing. Everybody following along with me? Right click on it, make group, and now we've made a group. All right, now we need to copy this and paste this to make a copy of it. So I'm going to right click. Sorry, I'm not going to right click. I'm going to go to Edit, Copy, Edit, Paste. I'm sure all of you guys know copy and paste at this point, right? It's kind of universal. Do you have two cubic shapes?
No.
Okay.
I'm messing up my house. I was going to copy the house as a rectangle, and now.
Well, to show you the move tool here, there's a few critical things about the move tool. You want to just kind of watch me do it real quick, because this is important, tricky stuff.
Yes.
Okay. What we want to do is move one of these directly on top of the other. Okay. So this is what I'm going for, okay? But I did that real fast. It's not hard. It's actually really easy if you do the right things. You have to kind of get an idea of how SketchUp thinks. It has everything to do with my first click. Wherever you click first, that's the point you're going to be connecting to the next point that you move to. All right, so if I click somewhere here in the side, and now I'm trying to set this box on top, see how I'm stuck at that point, right? So if I want to get it exactly on top, where do you think I should start? Exactly. Corners make it even easier. So if I go corner to corner, and it snaps right to it.
See, I didn't think that would work because you didn't do the bottom.
I did do the bottom. I'll show again. See, bottom to top.
Okay. I mean, I can't see that you clicked the bottom, but I know you clicked the edge, right?
I'm right there on the bottom. How can you not see that? Do you see my mouse dancing around?
No, I'm thinking underneath. I understand.
Oh, no, it's all about corners.
Okay.
Like, it doesn't have to be, but in this case, I'm making it. So yeah.
Okay. No, that's
So
fine.
so
That's all I need to understand.
yeah. And the reason for that is that it's a group. So group, it's all moving in conjunction. Okay. So if I open up the group by double clicking into it, check this out. If I just move this one, then it does this. It's only moving that one shape, and then everything else is kind of trying to follow along. But when I've got it like this as a group, if I click right here, well, yeah, I see what you mean. Like I could do it that way,
Yeah.
but it would be harder. I could like say start there, and then kind of try to go up here.
And that's why
It's
the word
kind of
matching what I saw, it didn't for me.
right.
I was trying to make it didn't work, but I understand.
It's close. I mean, it got me kind of there. It's just harder to aim it, for lack of a better word. In SketchUp, you always want to try to do it the way where it's easiest to aim, because things can get tricky sometimes. You'll be in here and it's like hard to make it do what you're trying to make it do, or it may seem that way, but then if you kind of go about it in a different way, a lot of times when I'm moving something, I will use the snaps to the axes, to the planes. Red, green, and blue. Check this out. Go to the Move tool. I click and let go. I've already started the moving process. Until I click that mouse button again, it's in movement. It's not going to stop. There's no inertia. Check this out. I can force it to go along with one of these. You know, they'll snap automatically if you kind of get it in the right spot, but I can force it to no matter what. So one of the reasons why you might do that is, I move it over here. Let's say I want to line them up perfectly. Not connected, but lined up, flush with one another. So if I start on that corner and then I click the left arrow key, notice how, see, I'm moving my cursor all over the place, but it's only moving along the green.
Right.
And then if I move my mouse right there, see how it's perfectly lined up right there. Boom. Anytime you get that green dot on something, it's lined right up. So if I didn't want to put it on top, but I wanted to move up to the height of on top, I hit the up arrow, and it's forcing it just to go straight up only. And then I can move my cursor right there, and now see how it's exactly.
Yeah.
Say I want to move the other one up to be aligned with that. I hit the up arrow. Boom.
That's kind of cool.
And also sometimes you'll want to move something over and then over again.
Okay,
and
so
then
it's
over.
suspended in midair, right?
It is. For right now, it is, yeah. The ground is just arbitrary. It's just there for a reference point. Technically, everything is just floating, you know. But sort of like, I'm trying to think of a way to say it. Instead of
So
moving.
there is something below the ground. What would you put? How would you put something below the ground? Can you?
Oh, you can.
Okay.
You just move it down there or you draw it down there.
Okay.
The ground does exist sort of as a plane, but it's
Yeah.
not a hard. Yeah, it's flexible. But say like, say I wanted to move this here. It might be easier to go there and then there. You know, to like take a straight line, and a straight line versus like an angle. So like, also when drawing things, sometimes that's easier. So maybe using my line tool, technically I want to end up with a diagonal line, but I'll come out here, I'll go up here, and I'll go over here, and then this is the line that I want, right? And then I erase all the scaffolding, and then I have my line, which I would never be able to get right in that precise spot without the scaffolding.
Right.
Scaffolding is huge in SketchUp.
Oh,
And you
really?
can just delete it later.
How did you do the scaffolding?
So for that, I just use the line tool. So you just draw a line, then draw a line, then draw a line, and then draw a line, say there, and then there's my line. So all this gets chopped. Right.
Yeah, I like that.
Right.
I get that. I like
If
that.
you don't already have a spot out there to click to, now if I had like say something like this, say like I had a shape here on the ground, and I wanted to take a line from that to the corner of that house, that's no problem because there's a point there to snap to. But if I also wanted to have another one, say out here somewhere at the same height, but just over here, that actually did it for me, but a sure way to do would be to make a line, and then make a line. Sometimes you're having to like find things. It's kind of
into the axis color.
right. Now I want you to try it. Connect this line to this line. Have fun with that. in a straight vertical line. It's kind of hard. Here's how you do it. You have to actually make a rectangle there. So you make a line straight up there. You go rectangle tool corner to corner, and then right there. See, it made it for me. So it's right there. And then I do that line. I know I'm moving really fast, but say get rid of all this, and now I've got that connection right there that I wanted. I would have never been able to eyeball that line, if that makes sense.
Right, yes.
So you'll run into those kind of things too, you know. It's where you have this going on. You have like two lines like this, but how do you get that one in the middle when you don't know where this is respective to this or this is respective to that? But the way you could do it is make like a plane there, and then it'll have a...
Yeah. Okay. I get it.
Yeah. It's pretty cool, right?
It is cool.
Yeah, I know it's not necessarily logical, or it might be a little different than... Because, at least it was for me. I had to kind of think SketchUp style to really start to... I used to really struggle with the move tool until I figured out basically like it's like pick it up here, set it down right with that same place that you pick it up, you know. Unfortunately, it doesn't snap otherwise. It snaps to point of origin, I guess. We're also going to look at rotation. So rotation, if you have the move tool on, these little red crosses are your rotations. And if you want, you can...
Red crosses are your rotation. Okay.
Yep. Something I didn't mention yet, but I will now. There is a field down here. There's a window right here that says measurements. This is what tells you some information about whatever you're making. So say we're making lines. Down here it's telling me that's 19 feet and 5/8 inches, right?
Mm.
And there's a ruler tool in here, so everything is to scale. You can do inches, millimeters, you know, any number of things, decimals. But they also have an angle. So if you're rotating something, so let's go to the rotate tool. You see this tool here? Right under the move tool? This is another fun one. How about everybody just watch me do this real quick, and then we'll do it together. So I've got this grouped. I made it kind of more like a steely for our current purposes. So if I go in and I rotate hit the rotate tool. I start on a corner. What I want to do is just take this and lay it down on its side. Okay?
Okay.
Sort of. I mean, it's going to be kind of underground, but you'll see what I'm going to do. So I'm going to start here. That's my first click. My second click is where is it going to try to rotate it from. So I come up here, and then I come down here or there, but in this case here, to set it down on the ground like that.
It's like it's in my house on the ground.
So click, click. You can see it better right there. And it snaps to the 90s and the 45s. But really, you can have any angle you want. And you can actually type in the angle if you want. But up at the top, kind of the same thing. So you want to take it 45 degrees, or well, there's 45 degrees rotation.
How do you make, when you make a box, that's the side of it is gray, how do you make the other side white as well?
Ask me that one more time.
When you want to make a box, when you make a box, a square, and then you make the square a box, and the other side of the box is not white, it's gray for the inside.
Right.
How do you make that white?
Just select the gray one only.
Like, select it with the pointer.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And then right click, and then it's reverse faces. So whatever it is, it'll flip it.
Got it. Right.
But make sure that you're in monochrome mode, right? Because if you've painted it gray, that can totally change that whole dynamic. So to be sure if you've got something inside out or not, you want to go to View, Face Style, Monochrome. This is sort of the binary basic mode. All right, just a couple last minute things, and we'll be done, guys. I want to show you one more tool, which is called the Scale tool. Again, it makes a big difference if you're working in a group or not working in a group. Okay? Let me demonstrate the Scale tool. It's this tool right here. Looks kind of like a square with an arrow pointing to the top right. So you get all these boxes. This isn't a very hard tool to understand. Corners will keep it proportional. I mean, it's scaling it, but it's the same height to width ratio. If you go outside of those corners, though, that does not happen. So for those, you can kind of stretch different directions, right? It's kind of like what we were doing with the push-pull tool, but with a little more power. Or if I go inside the cube and I just select one face and then I scale, what do you guys think is going to happen here? Check this out. This is actually a really good way to draw stuff, though. To like make shapes and stuff. Here's another thing that I want to show you guys. If you go up to Window and then Instructor. So if you go up to Window and then Instructor and you turn on the Instructor can be a huge assistant here in helping you learn more about the tools. You see how it tells you not only the main tool, but like the modifiers. I haven't been talking about a lot of the modifiers. They're kind of a little much for just the basics, but they are useful. So see, all the tools have modifiers. This is something that you may want to leave on when you're playing around with this at home, on your own, possibly. And then just a couple more things. File, here's how to save, okay? File, save as, name your file, pick your destination, and that's about it because, as I mentioned in the regular old version, you can save as a SketchUp file. There you go. They're not backwards compatible, so we're in.
Really?
No, we're in 2000. Well, they kind of are. We're in 2017 right now. If we saved it as a 2017, it's not going to open into 16, but you can save it in. Check it out. You can save it as a backdated version. Why they do this to us, I have no idea. It's so stupid, but they do it. So if you are going to be going back to an old version, you may want to consider. I don't know why it's not.
So you said you can save it in you can save it in a SketchUp file, or you can save it in another format.
That's a collada file. So to do that, let me cancel this. You would, instead of go to save as, export 3D model, and then you get a whole one choice. But a collada file is pretty cool. It'll save your color. I think Photoshop can pull it in.
Okay.
Yeah.
It can pull it in, but it won't be in 3D. Is that right?
It'll be in 3D in a collada. You can also export a 2D, and that's basically just going to be a JPEG of what you're looking at on your screen. It's like taking a screenshot.
What's the industry lead program software today that does 3D, that takes SketchUp to another level?
Not SketchUp. You're talking about that does
3D
similar stuff, but like way more.
Design, yeah.
Well, funny you should ask. Blender's been around for a long time. It's free, and it just got a major upgrade. You may want to check that out. I would love to teach a class on that one day. I mean, I've played around in it a little bit, but I don't know anywhere enough to develop a class yet. But Linda has a lot of that. I've watched some of them. So Blender is totally free.
Oh, Linda does. Okay.
Yeah, you're rocking and rolling in a matter of minutes with Blender. Free, really powerful. I mean, it does a million times more stuff than SketchUp. But
Really?
it used to have a really clunky, awkward interface. But they've modified it to make it a little more easier and easier to swallow.
Is it free?
Totally free. Blender, yeah.
I'm surprised they're making that free.
Now, there's a million other programs that can do similar things. You know, there's all the AutoCAD stuff, all the Autodesk stuff like 3ds Max, Maya, Rhino. There's one called Modo. There's some they're very specific in what they're aimed at, like car design. Here's one that is free, though, sort of free in a beta version for a year from Autodesk. Is called Fusion 360. I haven't used it yet, but some of my students have been using it, or some of our customers here, rather, have been using it to design stuff they print. It's free.
So what is Fusion 360?
I haven't used it yet.
Oh, you don't know what it does now?
I mean, I kind of know what it does. Similar things to SketchUp. Just has its own way, but you know, it's a similar 3D design program. I mean, you've got AutoCAD, which is the granddaddy of it all. There's a lot of 3D programs out there. I'm trying to think. ZBrush is one. It's pretty amazing. We don't have it. It's very much not free. Now, it's more for organic stuff. So SketchUp is not very... You can do organic shapes, but it's not good at it, I don't want to say. ZBrush.
Is not good for organic stuff, you said?
I don't think so. ZBrush is like working in clay. ZBrush looks like this. I mean, it's very powerful. It's kind of a horrific thing, but...
Wow.
People only make monsters in ZBrush. No, I'm kidding. People make everything, but yeah, you can like make hair and skin and texture and all that kind of stuff. SketchUp doesn't. These are all millions of little triangles. Look at that.
ZBrush?
Pretty cool. Yeah. There's the Hellboy.
That's amazing.
Oh yeah. ZBrush is about $800, and that's actually kind of cheap on the cheap end of things, really. But yeah.
I might have to. So is anything else is
free?
Fine? No.
Sculptress is free if you want to try one. It's the freeware element of ZBrush, basically. It's just a small little fraction of stuff, but you can do some things in there.
Okay. Because remember I told you what my goal was about that ring that you twist halfway and then have I want to be able to. It needs to be fine. I mean, there needs to be a lot of detail in that circle. But just twist half to make 90 degree.
That's going to be a challenge, man.
I know. That's why I'm figuring out what do I need to use to do.
Because, like, if you had something here, there's probably, I'm sure Blender can do it. How to do it, I have no idea. Like, when you start rotating stuff, so I know this is not a ring, Frodo, but Frodo. So you have something like this. This is not a ring, but this is kind of what I was thinking. Is if I
twist it? Yeah.
well, I can, but look, it's gonna look like that.
No, that's fine. Oh, I see. But
There,
if you could do that, then you can.
you'd have to do it
No,
segments. You'd have to do segments.
You can completely group it. I bet you. If you
I don't think that would help.
I think it will.
No. I mean, you have the right spirit, but no, it's not gonna help. I'll show you.
Okay.
Let me prove you wrong.
Oh no.
No, because I'm gonna win this argument. Nothing you can do about it. So, like, even if I group that, if you group it, it's gonna do that. Here's what you'll want to use in SketchUp. Now, other programs I don't know, but here's the cool thing about SketchUp. Plugins are awesome. So there's some twist plugins. I've actually used one of these. You can do this. Yes, this is what you'd have to get, but this doesn't come out of the box. This is an add-on that you have to get. So I actually have this at home, and that's what they used here. So yeah, this would be for you.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I think so. A lot of these plugins are confusing. Yeah, there's a lot of good Fredo stuff. Fredo's made a lot of good plugins.
You should be using Monday.com. It's a platform
That's
to
cool. I
manage
like
anything
that
and
idea.
what's up, guys?
Oh, this guy's great.
Justin GK.
He's got awesome SketchUp, what do you call it, YouTube channel?
Yeah.
Really good. And he talks about a lot of the plugins, which is nice. So here you go. Here's.
And rotate this bar 15 degrees.
Oh wait, he's doing it the old way.
But you see what he's doing?
I've done this before. You could do this, but if it's a ring shape, this would be a little more challenging. Let's see if we can do the Fredo video and see this in action here. Where's our video? I want a video of that. And that is supposed to be video, and it takes me to this link. Alright, sure. Where's my video? Here they are. Show me the money, guys. Show me the money. Okay, here we go. So it's sort of like a scale tool with a lot more power built into it. So we were just doing that a moment ago. Let me get to the twist. Yeah, I know, right? Chubby checker. It's not in this one. Let's try this one here. I used it for like a propeller blade on a model. Oh, here it is. Here's sort of this. This is kind of what you're going to do. That's it right there. Watch this. That's kind of what you'll be doing, which is really awesome because yeah, you could do that the old way. That would take you like 5 hours to do. Yeah. There's lots of cool little plugins people have thought up, and they like write the code themselves, and then you can just add it. A lot of them are free. I think this one was free. I have actually bought a couple of them, but yep, it's really, really handy to be able to do that kind of curve. Like,
so Fredo Scale 2.0 is that like it's a plug-in conglomerate of whatever?
There's a lot of Fredo ones, yeah,
Okay.
and you have to have like this. You have to get this first thing. Do you do a lot of computer stuff?
I have been away from computers in the last couple years, but yeah.
You remember back in the day when you had to have like an app to open that app, like on a PC or something. It's sort of like that little.
Yes, I do.
So it's all very homemade. Sometimes it doesn't work, but most of the time it works. I've been able to get most of it.
I understand.
Since it's not all officially supported, sometimes you have to like get this plugin, and you have to get this, and you have to install ports, and you have to do that. But I've been able to make it work. I love the plugins, by the way. They've saved me so much time.